So what we'll do is we need to start out with looking at the human head here. Okay, so we'll just look at a 3/4 view of the human head here. So for this, for all these lessons, I'm going to use a ballpoint pen here. Okay, but you can use any media that you want, really. Okay, so here I'm just going to lightly sketch this out. Okay, just like the basic design here for the human head here, and I'll just give him like a slight neck over here for a second. Okay, so one of the things is, okay, so let's say if you're sketching this out, right, you sketch out the basic form for the human head. There has to be some kind of a very simple system that we could use to put the features of the face onto paper pretty rapidly and be successful each time, right? So let's say if we drew the center line here for the eyes, we know that the eyes are going to go here, right? So I mean, what is the next step? Should we start to draw the eyes, or where should we really start with? So for this is like the most easiest way to do this, right? And when you try this out, you're going to see that it makes a big difference. Is since we know that the brow line is above this, right? Now don't worry about the formulas as to where exactly it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be up here? Or we know it's going to be around here, right? And you can adjust this depending on what kind of character that you're creating. You'll be very creative. We just need to get here. We're just studying a set of formulas, and then we'll look at how does this work in real world. Okay, so one of the things is that if you draw the brow line, let's say just like this above over here, right? And we know that where the eye socket for the skeleton, the skull, where the eye socket means it was a break over here, then you get that line here, right? And then you get those muscles here. Okay, so one of the things is that when you draw the brow line, right, you can pretty much distinguish that if it's going to end over here, right, that mark over here, you can just draw a line signifying that you've already found the fat area where the eye is going to be sitting, right? So if you go from here, draw it like this. Let's just put like the center line for a second here, right? Since we now know the fat system over here, we can all do the same thing over here on the other side. We know that the fat system is going to be here, and then it's going to obviously bulge out on the other side over there, right? So here, if the fat system is here, this means that where this is, right, it's going to go like this. This line signifies that this is the line that you get on the human face where you see this, where that nose area is. Okay? So this means that over here, up above this is going to be a bulge out area that's going to go like this. Okay? This is pretty significant as to what I'm showing you here, right? It's all these lines on the human face play a major role, and all we're doing is simplifying our helping the mind get these ideas across pretty fast. So this line here, this means it's going to be dark in here. I'm going to show you why that is in a second. Right, so we know that the nose is just going to protrude out over here. Okay, so one of the things is that when you put the fat system over here and this line over here, right, you know, this automatically tells you that up above this, right, here, right from here is where you're going to get the eyebrows, and the eyebrows are going to go like this, and they're going to go around the fat system, like we had looked at in the structure of man, right? So here I'm just going to lightly just put, I'm not going to like put the whole eyebrow down over here, but here this tells you, okay, so if the eyebrow is here, this means that we could literally put the other guy over here, right? Okay, so if the eyebrows are here, we also know that when we did the muscles, right, we went over this muscle area over here, so we know that it's going to at least come up above over here, right? So you can make like a line here signifying that there is a bulge over here on top, meaning that over here where the eyebrow is, you know that it's going to bulge out at least over here, right? And then it's going to give you the forehead. Okay, so this is something that when you look at drawings from other artists, you're going to see that they all do the same thing, because it's just a universal understanding as to how the system on the face works. Okay, so when we look at this in drawing it a little faster, you'll understand as to how this is going to make a big difference in putting our ideas down. Okay, so one of the things is that, okay, so when you have this, and you can like put a line over here, right, and just that bulge area over here. So we know that that line was over here, so this means that where you put that fast system, right, you'll get maybe like some wrinkles on some people. So it comes around over here, right, then it goes over here. Okay, so this means that if we had drawn some arrows, which we're going to do later in this, after we go through this, we know that this thing over here is it's going to hit over here, right? If we drew a line here, it's going to hit, then it's going to go on an angle, because we have to compensate for that the bone going from the cheek all the way to the ear, right? So so this means that when, let's say when we're sketching this out, where should we draw that line for the cheekbone? Okay, so automatically this tells you, okay, well, if that cheekbone is here and we have to compensate for this guy coming in like this, we know that we at least have to look at it from a 3D, the idea of it being a 3D form, right? So if we had shaded this, so meaning that you can draw a line over here, and this would automatically give the human head a 3D form, right? So if I drew this line over here, it wouldn't make sense, right? So just by drawing it here, I'm specifying that I get it, that the cheekbone is going over here because it has a mass to it. Okay, so on the other side, it's going to be the same thing, but it's just going to go like this. Okay. So when we were looking at the structure of the human face, where we were coming up with those formulas, right, we said, okay, well, if you want to get the nose, all you have to do is divide this in half, divide up, divide down, right? Which is the same exact thing, but you don't have to do this, right? Because the reason for this is, once you draw this line, right, you can it's going to be right in the center. So this means, like, if I drew a line over here in the center, okay, a little bit, this tells you that the ending of the nose is going to be over here, right? So here we could now jot down the nose over here, and we'll draw this out in a little bit, because there's some very simple understanding as to how you put the nose down pretty quick. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a second. So once you have this fat system over here, right, so you know that the eyelid for the left eye over here is going to go all the way from here, right, and obviously it's going to go inside over here, and it's going to come out. Just keep this in mind, that you can fit 5 eyes, right? One, then one in the middle, then 2, then a third one. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one over here, meaning it's going to give you that the width for the skull. So if you put this line here, is specifying that, okay, I understand that over here is the top eyelid, right? And we already went through the design of the eye as to what Michelangelo was saying as to what he had found, right? Because as to how the skull curves on this end, we know that this is going to be much more larger, right? So if the eye, so this means that this bottom eye is just going to go like this. It's going to be much more wider over here. But this also tells you that, okay, don't forget about that line over here that goes under here, right, under this eyelid. And we understood from this has to do, right, you could put a little slight second line if you wanted to, it don't matter, but have a pretty good decent space here. And this is, so these things that I'm pointing out to you are something you're going to notice on the human face if you keep drawing it over and over and over and really studying it. So here I'm giving you all the information in one shot here, right? So this over here signifies that we understand that, right, when we went through the design of the skull, there was the hole for the eye socket, and this thing bulged out, right? Okay, so this guy goes like this. So now we knew that when we had drawn that line for the eyebrow, where we had got that fat system, this is where we're going to get that line. And on practically on everyone, you're going to get this line, and meaning that this area here is obviously going to be dark, right? And over here, it just automatically gives you that fat area. Okay, so for here on the other side, it's just going to be the same thing. You're going to draw the upper eyelid over here, and just give it that bottom area over here. Okay, so anyways, so now we understand these concepts over here, right? Because this is going to play a major role when we start to draw this out pretty fast, because these are very simple ideas here. Okay, so just keep that in mind, what I just showed you here, and also keep this in mind that what I'm stating over here, that look, if you drew the line over here, since you know that the cheekbone is going to be over here, right? And you already know that, of course, if it goes here, you're going to get the bottom of the ear over here, and from the top of the eyebrow, you're going to, if you go in this direction, you're going to get the top of where the ear is going to sit, right? So this is one understanding, and the second understanding is from where this the meeting of this corner of the eye is, right? This line over here signifies where that curve is for that ear. So it's going to be pretty much just like this. Okay, so know that where that cheekbone is, where that bone goes from here to here, it's where that hole for the ear is. Okay. So I'm just going to simplify this for a second. Okay, so we know that the ear goes right over there. Okay, and we also understand that we are purposely drawing the line here to state that, right, we get the concept of the curve over here, right? Okay, so now this goes over here, so we know that this guy is on top, and this area over here is obviously a little bit inside. Now, depending on how chubby your the face for the character is, right? But like on a slim guy, this would be a little bit inside this area over here. Okay. So just keep an eye out for this. What happens under the eye here, and start noticing this on drawings. You'll see that this is a very common understanding as to how this goes. Okay. So the next item is that where you get the nostril, right? The simplest understanding is that if you drew a line for where this the ending of this corner of this eye over here is, and if you drew a straight line, you're going to get the area for the nostrils to where, how far it's supposed to be. You're not going to draw it over here, right? You're going to keep it at least over here. I'm giving you a general system over here of thinking about putting the stuff on paper. And obviously, the more you draw now, you're going to add to these universal understandings here. Here, I'll just shade this in a little bit. Okay, so that goes over there. Okay, so now the other understanding is, and this is very simple, is to how do you determine where the lips are going to be. So basically, all you have to do is, since you know that when you drew this line over here, right in the hat, in the middle, right? All you have to do is divide this in 3 parts, okay? And be picky about this as to how you're dividing this. Divide this in 3 parts. Okay, so once you divide this in 3 parts, what happens is that this top line tells you that this is the meeting of the lips, meaning that this area here, where the top of the lips is, it's going to come over here. Then you're going to get the top area of the lip. Okay, then it's going to go down. And this is where the 2 lips will meet. So this means that if the 2 lips meet here, where the top of the lip is never straight, right? It has to come down halfway over here. Okay, let me go over this again. So when we divided this in 3 parts, 1, 2, 3, right? We specified that this is where that lip area is, right? The meaning of the lips, and on top of this is where we drew the lip, and in the halfway, if we divide this in half, we know that the bottom lip is going to be here, meaning that on the top lip, when you finish it off, it has to come where this ending of the bottom is. Okay, so now when you put this in place, it's going to automatically give you how lips are put on the face of the human figure. Okay, this is the basic pattern that they follow. So one of the other things is that you're going to get that nudge here, right? Because we knew that those muscles was going around, and you're going to get that nudge. And also just keep an eye out for where the center of the eye is. Right, this is the center of the eye. It's going to hit over here. So your lips can't go out here. They're going to go over here. Okay. So now when these lips go out, so this is the ending of that lip. So the reason you divide this in 3 parts, right, and you come in the middle here for the bottom lip is because this area here, at where you when you divided this in 3 parts, this area here gives you that automatically gives you the space to give that extra bulge under this bottom lip here, right, and then the chin would be down over here, and then you'll get the chin. And just know that obviously it's going to have its own plane over here, right, and this, so let me actually just put this in here for a second. Okay, so one of the things to keep in mind is this area right here. Okay, I'll point this out. The top of the lip is higher than the bottom. Okay. Okay, so this says, so we know that the top is higher and this is the bottom. So when we do it this way, when you put it down, you know that it's going to pretty much automatically just come together like the way it's supposed to. Okay. So the other thing is that this whole area here, we also knew that it had a plane over here. So one of the understandings for this is that on where the center of the eye is, not only does this center of the eye signify that where this nudge for that lip is supposed to be, you're also going to get that area for that plane over here. So this plane is completely separate from this concept of this line that goes here for the muscle, right? Just know that there's a plane over here. And of course, where this thing is and where that whole bulge is, away from it, right, you're going to get this muscle over here, just like this. Okay, and of course you can just add your own understandings to this, what I'm showing you here. And make it much more realistic. Okay, so one of the other things is just know that obviously there was a little fat system here. So I'm not going to draw it and just know that it's over there. Okay, so the other understanding for this is, okay, so when you draw this, the line for the cheek, you also should keep an understanding that over here, how this goes, this line, it goes here, it hits over here, it bulges out, right, because this is bulging out. It bulges out, but there's a plane that you need to be aware of that goes in this direction, right? There's this line over here should signify that, okay, we get this concept as to how it's not a plane, it's just keeping an eye out for how you should be thinking about understanding is in a much more 3D form in shading, right? So we can now just shade this in if we wanted to over here. Okay, so we've got like shading over here. We're going to have a little bit of shading over here, like so. So let's just shade this in so we can see where we are at. Okay, so meaning that when we went over here, so this is like a dark area on this side, obviously. So where this thing was, where you got the wrinkles, this now helps us to understand. Okay, so we get why this line gets over here, because it helps to give the figure that that 3D look, the human skull, that 3D look over here. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly shade this in, just so we can understand these concepts here, real quick. Okay, so this goes here, and then we also know that that muscle for that cheek, where that gland was, is obviously going to be over here. So you can sometimes like put a line here, depending on where you're drawing this, from what angle and what kind of shading you're doing. Okay. Okay, so it's 20 minutes. Okay, so anyways, in the next lesson we're going to have to come back to this, and now we're going to look at everything in detail what we just talked about, and going to see how does this make a difference in putting the human head, drawing it with more of a much more freehand. I hope to join you for that. Thanks.